Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ADC Kenya session. My name's Ruth Ferland, and I will be taking you through representatives of the teams at ADC Kenya. My role, if you didn't see the kickoff this morning, my role at the ADC is the Student and Community Engagements program. I lead that program, and the first 10 minutes of this session will be me talking about what we do at ADC and the programs that we have in place. And then I'll run you through all the other speakers that we have in this lineup, and we have awesome ones coming up. And so please stay tuned for the entire hour. I'm going to go ahead and share my deck right now, and bear with me because I'm moderating at the same time. So I'm going to send this to my deck to live, and I'm actually not going to be able to see any of you, but if you put your your questions on the Q&A window, I'll be able to see it after I stop sharing my deck. Okay, here we go. We're going to just make this in a presentation mode, which will it'll take over my screen. Okay, so we are talking today about ADC in Kenya. There are two ADCs, centers in Africa. So when we set up the development center, we had decided to do it at the same time, both in Africa and both in Nairobi and Lagos. But for those of you who've been around for quite some time, you actually know that Microsoft in general has been around in Africa for quite some time, since 1992. Granted, most of this was from our sales group, and it wasn't really until about 8 years ago when we kicked off with the For Africa, and then Airband came, and then our data center in South Africa, then FarmBeats, and now, just last year, we set up the two ADCs. And we had decided that it would be on both, both sides. And I don't have a, so no, there's one right there. So it's both on Lagos and in Nairobi, and we're growing pretty fast. It's a rapid growth, and hopefully in 2022, our target is 500 engineers in total. And just a couple of months ago, we actually, in Nairobi, we celebrated our 100th hire. So we are growing pretty fast. So if you're looking for a job, please check out our careers.microsoft.com and go to the student side of the site and look at all the other opportunities that we have. We are hiring right now. We're interviewing for full-time positions, entry-level full-time positions, as well as internship. Now, at ADC, we have three pillars. We have the building up our engineering teams. So we make sure that the engineering teams that we actually invite to set shop in the site can work with each other. So we try to be very deliberate as to what teams can set up shop at our site, and then we grow from there. We make sure we develop our engineers and our PMs, and we have internships and recruiting pipelines that then feed into developing these teams. The other two are the education portion and the community impact. So for those of you listening in, you're gonna fall under the education side, and you see a lot of our activities are really focused in engaging you students directly, whether it's through this summit, through the Game of Learners, or also even through your universities. We do partner with some of your universities to develop some of the mentorship, but if you join in all the other programs that we have, in particular the Game of Learners, you will go through as well the mentorship, some fun ways to learn and keep growing in the area in tech. Now, in the community side, we're also making sure we put some energy into that, because eventually you're all going to graduate, right? And you're going to be in the industry. So when you do, then you need a community to also work together with. So no different than, you know, the student ambassador program. When you're a student, you can then become an MVP, and we're also lining up with all the MVP activities and also infusing the industry community with several engagements that we make sure that would stick and really grow over the years. In the student side, we have a two-pronged approach in that area. As I mentioned, we have direct student engagements, and that's our grassroots approach. And that is where you go into, you participate through the Game of Learners, where it doesn't really matter what school you come from. You can participate and you can be part of a team and then learn a lot of stuff in a short duration of time. And next calendar year, we are instituting what we call the clinics, the Game of Learners clinics, where we will provide hands-on training and projects with you so that you can get that hands-on experience in coding. Now, on the same time, we're also having engagements with your universities, and what we try to line up in there is to make sure that the curriculum of your universities actually is lining up with the industry, so that when you do graduate, you can immediately fill in an entry-level position at Microsoft, for example. So that's a lot of the partnerships that we are building is related to that, and also providing mentorship opportunities. I'm going to just breeze right through this, just because you know, this audience is for students, but the only reason I am going over this is that eventually you students will be graduating, and you're going to want to know what's going on in the community, in the industry community. So the things that we're really focusing a lot of our efforts in is building that consistency of meetups for our industry community, so that when you become a professional, there are groups that you can join to be with other professionals in your field. So we've instituted for the past couple or so months a monthly meetup called ADC Hour of Learning that happens every second Wednesday of every month, and one's for those of you, and even if you're not graduating yet or anything, there's nothing that's limiting you from joining. So even if you're a student, you can certainly check that out. We're on meetup.com, so you can check out ADC's program and engagements in there, the program and events, and we can, you can take a look at our monthly engagements with the community. So I highly encourage, especially for those fourth years where you're at that cusp, right? And you're trying to get to the industry side, really start getting plugged in now with what's going on in the industry community, so that you're not blindsided when you leave the university. The other part is, if let's say you're not a student ambassador, but you want to be in a student ambassador type of program. Once you're, professional, there's this thing, the program called Most Valuable Professional. So our MVP program is really a way for you to gain this community of technical professionals that want to pursue their craft, and they just want to perfect it. So it's a great networking environment for everybody to to work on your craft and to work on your projects. And I would highly encourage that you look into that. The only caveat there is that if you become or if you decide to come work for us at Microsoft, you have to give up your MVP status. So if you are not a Microsoft employee, you can become an MVP. The other part that we're doing is the working with our partners, so that when we're putting together programs out there that skill up a lot of folks in our community, and we want to give them the opportunity also to go through recruiting with other companies, so that when they graduate from these programs, they not only have the opportunity to interview with Microsoft, but also interview with other companies in the community. We really try hard to start kicking off all our community impacts here. And this is just, I know this is very verbose, but I'm not going to go through any of them. One of the things I really want to highlight in this one is the Game of Learners and Women in Tech. The Game of Learners is a very big player in our list of activities, and you're really if you could tune in next calendar year for this, there's going to be a lot of events, a lot of engagements through the Game of Learners, so stay tuned for that. And then the other one is the Women in Tech. So I really highly encourage more women to stay on the tech world, or maybe come on in the tech world. I've been in this industry, as since I graduated from the university. So I've been in the tech industry for 22 years, and I remain a technical resource. So it can happen. You can do it. You can keep your technical career, get married, have a couple of children, and still be able to stay sane. So I know a lot of women always ask those things. Can I have it all? Well, I think I'm living the can I have it all, and I seem to be okay. So I really encourage more women into this field, because as of based on the registration for this summit, there were only 30% women represented. So please come on board and join us. This is just a bunch of photos of how fun it's been for the past year since ADC started. So we really try to make a fun community within our ADC family. So this is this is the Kenya office. We had a hackathon that we did. We try to do a lot of morale activities. We have a lot of volunteers that volunteer for engagements within for university engagements. We had one at the USIU, and in our hackathon, we even went to Opajeta to learn about their systems and things like that. So we really try to provide a fun, vibrant community where you can come in, have fun, bring your best creative ideas, and meet a lot of coworkers that basically become your family. So hopefully I'll see you at ADC in whether it's Kenya or Lagos or Nigeria, and welcome to our ADC Kenya session. So I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to our next presenter. Bear with me here while there you go. Well, I'll put myself back. And our next one will be, let's see, Peter. I'm gonna put you I'm gonna queue up Peter. And he will be talking about his team. So take it away, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. So my name is Peter Njoroge, and
so Peter, you're muted, I think.
Should be good now. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Ruth.
I take that back. You're not muted. Go ahead.
So our program manager at Microsoft, and I work with the search team. I'll give a bit of background for the work that my team does, to give a better understanding of the impact that we have within Microsoft. So a while back, we had different teams or different products storing their own data as silos. So you'd have emails being stored within Outlook. You'd have messages from Teams stored within Teams, and different products worked in that way. But we realized in the world we live in, there's a need to be able to check what emails I got at one place without needing to go through different products to get this information. So Microsoft decided to combine all this information into one place. So storage of data and ability to look for that data resides in one place called a substrate. So this aggregates information from all the products that are within Microsoft and within an organization, so that it's easier for you to find the information that you need. So after combining this data, that's when our team was formed. Our team deals now with the search of the data within that substrate, which is a collection of data from different products. As they were forming this team, the main goal was to allow people to find information easily. And to be able to not only find information within one service, but find information across different services. And that's where substrate search comes in. So initially, you could find whatever you needed, and the search was a bit basic. It was, if I'm looking for people, for instance, I type Ruth, I'll be able to see, I don't know, like 100 Ruth who are in Microsoft show up as a list, and I'd scroll to find the Ruth that I need, which was a bit hard to find information. So as we evolved, we realized that there's a need to build relevance between the Ruth that I'm looking for and a Ruth that I might be chatting with in Teams, or I'm sending emails to, or I met a week ago. So as time went on, we advanced a bit and built a relevance tool that allows for me to be able to match the right Ruth with the right person. So if you're John and you're looking for Jack, you'll be able to find the Jack that you talk to simply because the right Jack, simply because you talk to them via Teams, or you send them an email 2 days ago, or you have a meeting with them. So they're looking at different signals that can be able to link the right person to you. And that's basically what a good search gives you. We realize that as you type on your search bar, you're able to see some suggestions that are given to you. Sorry. So these suggestions are people who are still relevant to you, but also we're looking at what is that search that you did yesterday. Is the search still the same? Are you looking for the same person? Are you looking for the same email, the same file? And so we're able to give you suggestions that allow you to click on what's being suggested without having to go into the search results. So it makes your life even easier. So looking at search, we have different verticals, and these verticals what you'll have calendar and emails, which is in Outlook, which is what you have in Outlook. And those are products that we have, but also allow us to be able to search for different things across those verticals. And at the moment, the Kenya team is dealing with people search and bringing that into the different products that we have, because not all products have search exposed. At the same time, we're exposing this to third-party developers. So a given company can be able to come in and say, I want to tweak that people search a bit so that it only shows me email addresses, for instance, or it gives me people who are in a given company, an external company. So you're able to search for email people or contacts that you add into. Your email address. So that's all from our team. In Nairobi, we are 10 at the moment, bringing in more. More back to euros.
I think I'm having issues with my network over here. It was a little spotty there. I don't know if it was happening across the others, but yeah, so it was a little bit spotty. I'm gonna go queue up next is Japheth, and I'm going to send that over in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right, man, you are on.
So I was unmuting my microphone there. So hi everyone, I hope you're all having a great time at the summit. So I'm in the developer experience team for Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is a set of APIs that allows developers to access most of the data that Peter was talking about so that they can develop applications against it. We are spread across 2 time zones, around 15 of us. We're in Redmond and in Nairobi. So all our work is open source. We have around 10 projects, so on average is around 2 developers per project, and all that work is open source. So if there is anyone who is curious enough to go and check it out and give comments or make pull requests, we'll appreciate that. The other thing, so I can talk briefly about what the value we add to Microsoft. So when a developer wants to work against Microsoft Graph, they have 2 options. They could use their own tools or use the tools we provide. So using your own tool is synonymous to inventing the wheel. You'll have to do a lot more work compared to when you just use our tools. So that's what we do. We provide tooling and SDKs for developers to use to work against Microsoft Graph. That's all from me, Ruth. Is Ruth?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm right behind the seat. I heard you, and I just didn't expect it to be so quick there. So I'm going to send over Steven. It should be coming up online right now.
So hi everyone. Happy to be presenting to you today. I hope everyone is doing well. As you've heard from Ruth, my name is Steven and I'm a software engineer. So back in campus, I studied mathematics and computer science and developed a keen interest in software engineering. And that's how my journey into software engineering began. So fast forward, currently I'm working at Microsoft ADC. Nairobi campus. I'm part of Azure AD Graph Integration team, which is part of the large identity division at Microsoft. Our main area of focus is Azure AD Graph I'm sure most of you have heard or know what Azure is. So Azure is Microsoft cloud offering, and one of the services provided by Azure is Azure Active Directory, which provides identity and access management to cloud resources for organizations. So basically, services like single sign-on, authentication, access controls are all provided by Azure. On the other hand, the product which you work on, Azure AD Graph, is an interface which allows applications to communicate, which allows applications to communicate, which allows applications to communicate with Azure Active Directory. Currently, Azure AD Graph supports both first-party and third-party applications. First-party applications are the ones which are developed by Microsoft, and third-party applications are the ones which our customers develop. So having this interface in place allows developers to be innovative and to build solutions which our customers and other organizations and consumers can use. So let me give 2 examples. For instance, an enterprise developer who works for an organization that has an Office 365 subscription might want to build an application which interacts with Azure AD to perform certain tasks. Say, for instance, assigning users licenses. So for this developer to implement this application, they need like a way for the application to communicate with the underlying Azure AD service. And that's where the graph, Azure AD graph comes into play. Another example is we have maybe like an ISV, independent software vendor, who is developing a multi-tenant web application that provides user management functionality to organizations that use Azure AD. So this particular feature requires access to Azure, requires access to directory resources under Azure. So again, this application will have to communicate to Azure AD through Azure AD Graph API. So my team basically works on that particular interface that makes this communication between the application and Azure AD possible. And this interface is a RESTful web service. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what we do as a team. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I am going to bring up next is Miles. So I'm going to put his face on the live window, but let me tell you a little bit about Miles. So Miles, I've met him since last year because his team was one of the first teams that were set up at ADC Kenya. So he's one of the veterans basically for ADC Kenya. He was able to participate in our hackathon, all the good stuff. So hopefully Miles can tell you a little bit about how fun it is to work for the ADC. Go ahead, Miles.
Hi, Ruth. Thank you. Thank you. I don't consider myself a veteran, but thanks for the compliment. So my internet is a bit shaky, so if there's a lag, just let me know to repeat if you need me to repeat anything. So I'm just going to present something. I think apparently I'm the only one who prepared something here for presentation.
Wait 1 second. Before you do that, I actually have to cue your presentation on there and send that over. So I'll let you know once that presentation is live. There you go. You're all set, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth. So my name is Miles. I'm a software engineer. We joined early last year, so we were technically not the first, but you are kind of the first. among the first people to join. And right now, I think I'm finishing a year and have 18 months around there. It's been amazing. People are amazing, meeting amazing people, and you're learning so much from everyone in the office and your team. So our team is called Azure Migration Compat. The short name is Azure Migrate Compat. We basically help customers who are migrating from on-prem servers to Azure. On-prem servers, these are servers that companies have in their own data centers. For example, a bank can have physical servers at their office where they're running their services and they want to move to Azure. So we help them when they're migrating by assessing the environments. So this is basically how a simple migration journey occurs. You have your own data center here, you have your physical servers, virtual servers, and you want to end up on Azure. And these are the steps you usually take. You assess your applications, if you're a bank, if you're an enterprise, and then you plan your migration. The IT team does that. And then you do the migration. Once you migrate all your workloads, these are the applications, databases, and everything, your network setting and such. You optimize, whereby you try to configure to reduce the cost, trying to replicate what was on-prem to the equivalent on Azure. And our team now, we come here in between migrate and optimize. Once you assess, we go to your on-prem servers, we pick up your applications, we determine which applications you have, which databases you have, and then we do what we call, a compatibility run on them. That is, all these applications, how compatible are they if you are to migrate to Azure? So we kind of give you confidence of, if you move to the cloud, if you move to Azure, you're okay, so you can do that migration. Or, if we see something that you might need to change, you might need to, replace, we tell you that early on so that you don't end up in a situation whereby you're moving to the cloud and then your applications are failing. So that's basically it. You have to deal with the operating system on the data center, the customer's data center. This one here on the left, and then you have to always also deal with the resources on Azure where you're migrating to. And this is the a summary of the detailed breakdown of how the team works. Get the apps, assess them, review their risk, and then tell you if you can migrate, or if you can't migrate, we give you a reason and we give you mitigations you can do. For example, if you need to update something, if you need to install a driver, and after all that is done, you're now confident to migrate, and basically the customer has a very smoothless and effortless experience. They don't have to migrate and then fail once they reach there. So currently we are a team of around 9 engineers and a project manager, and all of us have finished 18 months. It's been amazing, and we have a sister team in the US and another sister team in Dublin, and we have a partner team in India, which owns the whole migration concept. So that's it. And I know mostly if you're a student, you might be interested, like, what do I need to know if I need to build this kind of tools, if I need to work on these kinds of amazing projects. These projects, they are used by customers all over the world, and these are a sample of the tools we use. We use heavily Azure because most of our services run on Azure. That's where the customer will end up on. So you need to have some familiarity with Azure. We also use C# heavily for our coding. So if you're in school, it's better to start learning .NET, learning C#, and learn a bit of TypeScript. If you're developing on Windows, then learn a bit of how to use Visual Studio, and for backend reasons, learn a bit of SQL. And for data analytics, we use Python sometimes. Some parts of the system use Python, so you might also want to know to start learning all Python too. You don't have to learn everything at the start. I just recommend, start with C#, .NET, and Visual Studio, and a bit of Azure. Know how to deploy services on Azure, know how to do things on Azure, how to deploy resources there, and how to deploy your applications or workloads there. That's all from me, Ruth. Thank you.
And of course, I did it again. I kept talking while I was still muted. So I'm putting myself back in the spotlight, and we're going to go through the questions here in the Q&A window. And actually, one of the questions that was here was addressed for Peter, but Miles, at the end of your question, your slide there, Miles, you actually addressed some of that question and what do you need to know to be able to join your team and so forth. So since you started off with that, I'm going to then ask this question across the board for all of the other guys on how do you what do you need to have to be able to join the team, your team. So what type of skill sets do you need, and so forth. So I'm going to go around round robin to all the other guys. So guys, I need you to turn on your cameras back so I could see you. I want to, while they do that, I'm going to answer some of the questions also that that's kind of directed to me, and it's about the internship. So the intern, someone had asked, well, when is it open? We are, the application's open now for internships. So please go into our careers.microsoft.com site. Look at all the open roles that we have. We're open for internship and entry-level positions at ADC Kenya. Now, the difference between the two is that for the internship, you can still be a student. Like ideally you're like in your third year going into your fourth year, and when you do that, you can come in as an intern and then go back to your fourth year, back to university. The great things about our internship is it is tied to a role within ADC. So if you do really well, you can immediately come in, and then you can secure that job before you even graduate from the university. So that's what's great thing about our internship program. And then of course, if you're in your fourth year and you're graduating, I would highly recommend that you apply for our open roles, entry-level roles. And we're accepting applications now. So you have to apply now. We're conducting interviews this month and finalizing everything in the end of January. So hope that clarifies everybody. So I'm going to do a round robin. We'll start with you, Peter. Cue you up. And this is the question, just to repeat it. It's about what type of skill set do you need to be able to function or to be able to work in your team?
So there are two different roles to look at here. There are two different roles to look at. There's the PM role, which is a program manager, and there's the engineering role. So what Steven, I believe, Miles, and Japheth, who spoke before, are. So as a PM, and most companies will look at PM here as a product manager. So your work here is you're a bit technical. You have to have a technical background, simply because you'll be talking to engineers every single day, telling them this is what I think the product should look like, and you'll have that back and forth. They'll share their ideas, and you'll have a good tag there to fall onto what the implementation will look like for the final product. So you have to have a technical background, which is really helpful. So for those people doing computer science, those skills that you got, or those skills that you got will come in handy when you become a PM. The other bit as a PM, because the PM role simply guides the development of the product. You're the one who's looking at the data on usage. So an example, when I look at search, for instance, I'm going to see people who go in and search for something. We give them suggestions, they don't click on them, and they click enter to see the answers they get. So for me, I'd be keen on why did that person not click on the suggestions that we give, and have an understanding of if it's because we deal with huge numbers, if it's like 1 million queries that have been run within a week, and out of those million, 80%
So is it my connection, or is Peter freezing?
I think he's freezing because I can do well.
Okay. Yeah, so Peter, I'm taking you off the camera. Japhet, I'm going to put you next just because you're not freezing, and if you could answer the same, we're going through really bad network in every person's house, so I'm gonna have you answer that question. And what does it take to be able to do a role in your in your team? So you as a PM, what do they have to do?
All right, so I'm actually not a PM. I am an engineer in the team.
I'm sorry. I thought Peter had said, oh yeah, that you were a PM, so I didn't even.
I think it's this bad network. I'm kidding. So in our team, we have products in pretty much most of the popular programming languages, because we are a developer. We make developer tools, so we tend to have products to cater for all programming languages. So my advice to students will be to just go to our repo on GitHub, since most of our work is open source anyway. So if you go to GitHub and then /Microsoft Graph, and then just search for an SDK, and then pick one that is in whatever language you are comfortable with. And we also do all our issue management on GitHub. So if there is an issue that you think you can do, or if you like more information to do, just ping, just right there, and then someone will reach out to you and then guide you through making your first pull request. I think that is the best way of learning about what we are doing, since it is already in the open. Unlike other products that Microsoft has, all our product is in the open, so you can easily just go and look and see how we write our code. Maybe even review our code in case we make any mistakes, so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's what I will advise them to do, like to go on GitHub, pick a product or an SDK that is in a language they're comfortable with, and then ask questions where they don't understand, so that they can be assisted to contribute. Yeah, that's
Awesome, thank you. So Stephen, you're next in the spotlight now. So in your team, from your perspective, what type of skill sets would you need to be able to succeed in your team?
So again, in my team, we have two roles, a project management role and a software engineer role. So I won't speak I won't speak on the project management role because Peter pretty much covered it all. So on the engineering role, we we basically on the product which we're working on, we use C#. We use OData, so it's good to understand concepts like what's an entity, what's an entity data model, concepts like singletons, and so on, which are basically OData concepts. And then again, also data structures and algorithms. It's good to understand those concepts. So that's it. Back to you.
Okay, I will take some of the questions that are in here. I'll put myself back into the spotlight. So there are, just looking at the Q&A window, some of the questions were, is it just the software engineer and program manager that's available right now? Yes, for the ADC teams, that's all we have right now. We're setting up MARI though, and that stands for Microsoft Africa Research Institute. And there are openings for that particular team as well, but most of the time that usually requires a PhD or a master's in something. So but in any case, just check out the career site. If it's available, then we post it. It's a Microsoft policy to always post anything that's what we call Microsoft FTE. That's a Microsoft full-time employee. So if it's a role that is part of the ADC, as whether it's engineering, eventually we're going to have design roles in here, and the PM, all of them have to be posted on the career site. So because it requires you to apply for them before you can even be considered. So for those questions in there about these roles, I hope I answer them. I'm going to go just up the list. If there's anything. Someone had asked about you can get attachments with Microsoft while still in campus. That's really the student ambassador program. That's the one I highly recommend that you look into. And even for our participants of the Game of Learners, we encourage them that if they're not student ambassadors, look into the student ambassador program. That's part of our offboarding of student ambassadors, of students into the student ambassador program, because it allows you to, it provides you that network of people that you can, you can up your game in, you can skill up with. And who knows, eventually later on when you need a job, you're going to tap into that network that you've made as a student ambassador. And in fact, we're planning together something where we have the student ambassador will be plugged in to a recruiting session directly. So if you're a student ambassador, we'll set up something special where all the student ambassadors will be able to have interview opportunities for Microsoft. So I hope that answered all the questions that are listed in here. I don't think I have missed any. There is a question about MVP, whether there's an MVP in Zambia. To be honest with you, I don't know. Certainly we can look it up. I would recommend that. I remember there is a map that was posted at the Power Africa conference yesterday, and I thought there was a map of MVP. So I'll look that up and we'll post it as part of the materials for this summit, in case anyone's looking for that network, for the MVP network. I'm trying to, do I have guys, you can just unmute and you can take a look at that Q&A window and see if I've missed anything. Did I miss any questions?
Ruth,
Oh, can you share a link to
question.
that? Oh, it looks like there's more questions on the bottom. So links to the GitHub that you guys were projects. Yeah, I will put all of the links here. Yeah, so it's careers.microsoft.com. If you just go there, careers.microsoft. I'm just typing that up here.
So Ruth,
Yeah,
I think we might be a bit misleading in putting emphasis on C#. It's nice to know, but it's not required for the interviews. So whatever programming language someone is comfortable in, especially for the interviews, like they don't have to adapt a whole new programming language to adapt to have the interviews.
that's very good point. They actually let me. It's hard to go back and forth in a conversation in a in a Teams live setting. Yes, that's a very good point, because even when you talk to university recruiting, they will tell you that just pick a language that you're comfortable with and learn it. Because you're not going to be tested on C# unless that's the language that you say, oh, this is the one I'm an expert on, and this is how I'm going to solve that problem. And so yeah, it doesn't really matter what language you pick and learn, as long as you pick one. And this is just a quick plug. The next session after this is the recruiting workshop session. I would highly recommend that you attend it, because the university recruiter will demystify our recruiting process, and then they will simulate an interview. So they're going to go through a mock interview and then go over with you what's great about that interview, and then give you tips on how to ace your interview. So I highly recommend that you attend that session. I'm just going to do a quick scan of our Q&A, and it doesn't look like we have anything new. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. So what I'm going to do is we're gonna end this session. And I really encourage for those of you that have attended to please tune in on the next session with the recruiting workshop. And this particular recruiting workshop is specific to software engineers. And tomorrow morning is a recruiting workshop specific to program manager. So really, please attend that. It'll answer all your recruiting questions in there. All right. Thank you so much for attending this session, and I'll see you in the other sessions. Thanks, speakers.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye. Right.